this video, we will introduce to you the parties involved in the construction project and the processes involved. So before we begin, let's give a big round of applause to our group members. We have our team leader Jia Qi, Rachel, Jemimah, Jia Qi, Wilfred and Arthur. Last but not least, we would also like to introduce our brilliant and wise tutors, Miss D, Mr. Chen Li and Mr. Eric. With all of that out of the way, let's jump straight right into the project. The location of our project is situated in Petaling Jaya district. The main criteria that are focused in this project are demolishing the existing bungalow, subdividing the land, building 2 new semi-detached houses with any interior design style, installing a curtain wall facade for a double living space, and achieving gold rating in GBI. The total build-up area for this project is 4,210 square feet, and there will be 2 stories for each house. Now, let's introduce the roles involved in this project. Firstly, we have the most important person, our client, who is the bungalow owner in this case. Next will be the construction team. The first category of the construction team will be the consultants. The construction team will be led by an architect. His main responsibilities are to inspect the site during construction, produce sketches and detailed drawings, and he is the agent who submits them to the authorities for approval. Next up, we have the quantity surveyor. His main roles are preparing tender and contract documents, including bills of quantities for the architect and client, prepares valuation statements for interim certificates, prepares cost reports regularly and measure and estimate the building's material costs for the project. Then, we will have the civil and structural engineer who will be played by Jia Qi. The job scope includes monitor and inspecting all work undertaken by contractors to ensure structural soundness, carrying out investigation and survey of building sites to determine the suitability of the earth, and designing structures that can endure stresses and pressures. Subsequently, Wilfred will be the mechanical and electrical engineer in this project. He's the one who designs the mechanical and electrical system, carries out various tests to identify the most suitable materials for the installation, oversees the installation, operation, maintenance to ensure that the machines and equipment are installed and functioning according to specifications. He will also inspect completed installations to ensure conformance to design and equipment specifications in compliance with operational and safety standards. Jemimah will be playing the role of a land surveyor. A land surveyor's job is to measure the property sold or purchased, prepare highly detailed layered map of a survey to show all easement, soil conditions and structures on a parcel, determine the legal property lines and boundaries to help determine the exact locations of real estate and construction projects, develops work plans, methods and procedures to perform surveying tasks. Moving on is the landscape architect, who will be played by Rachel. The landscape architect's role is to analyze, design, manage and nurture the built and natural environments, inspect landscape works to ensure that it adheres to original plans, coordinate the arrangement of existing and proposed land features and structures, and prepare environmental impact assessments based on proposed construction. And next, we will need a green specialist in reaching the GBI scores. This specialist will be played by Jia Qi, and she will be in charge in creating a project strategy to save energy and water, recommend eco-friendly materials, optimize indoor environmental quality, create a sustainable site, conduct water audits, wastewater management, and rainwater harvesting studies. She will also help in reaching green building rating and documentation process. And lastly, creating energy models, daylight simulations of all buildings to demonstrate energy efficiency. Besides the consultants, there will also be contractors in the construction team. The contractor in the construction team will be the contractor and subcontractors, and Arthur will be these 2 professionals in this project. He will supply all construction equipment and materials, hire construction workers and also subcontractors to perform specific parts of the overall project. Moreover, he will do planning, scheduling and monitoring the overall project and coordinating with the architect, consultants and the suppliers. Now let's go into the construction process. There are 5 phases in the construction process. First is the schematic design phase, followed by the design development phase. The third stage will be the contract documentation phase, and next will be the contract implementation and management phase. And last but not least is the final completion phase. And we will go through the 5 phases one by one.
During the schematic design phase, the client, who is the bungalow owner, will consult the architect about the client's intention. After that, the architect will take the client's instruction and analyze the project brief. Then, the architect will request the as-built plan, which is the 2D floor plan of the existing bungalow from the client for further demolition purposes. The architect will then prepare preliminary conceptual sketch proposals according to the project brief. Meanwhile, the architect will find a land surveyor to subdivide the land. The land surveyor will survey the site and consider the boundaries of the developed land. Furthermore, he will also check with the restriction in subdividing the land. At the same time, the civil and structural engineer will carry out the building survey and structural survey. The engineer will survey on the presence of wastewater, hazardous materials, drainage conditions, and potentially dangerous areas. The structural survey includes the method of construction, structural system, structural conditions, water and electrical system. The land surveyor will prepare a final plat. The final plat includes the division of the larger piece of land, distance and bearings between each corner of land, and new roads that exist or to be built between the sections of land. After surveying the site, the land surveyor will submit the analyzed plan to town planner. At this time, it is the town planner's job to check the analyzed plan to ensure it follows the local planning, rules and regulation, and advise on the changes needed before submitting the development order to One Stop Center in the town council in Selangor, which is called Majlis Bandaraya Petaling Jaya. The architect will develop the preliminary conceptual sketch proposals into sufficient sketch designs to apply for planning approval. The quantity surveyor will prepare preliminary estimates of the probable construction costs based on the current area, volume or other unit costs. Then, architect and town planner will submit the development order to One Stop Center in town council. When the development order is approved, client will pay a development charge to the town council. The land surveyor can then prepare the subdivision plan and submit it to the land and survey department. After the approval of subdividing the land, the client will pay a subdivision premium to the land and survey department. The land and survey department will issue the title to the 2 lands, and the client can then transfer the ownership of the subdivided land to the 2 new owners.
Now we will move on to the next phase, which is the design development phase. During the design development phase, the architect will develop schematic designs of the project until it is sufficient for the other consultants to commence their drawings. After that, the quantity surveyor will update the preliminary estimates of construction costs, while the architect will update the project planning and implementation schedule. Both of them will submit the documents to the client for approval. The civil and structural engineer will prepare a demolition plan accompanied with a report that consists of structural calculations to assess the stability of the building that is demolished and all the affected buildings and structures. Then, he also comes out with civil drawings and structural drawings. Meanwhile, the mechanical and electrical engineer will advise on the disconnection of the water and electrical supply of the existing building before demolishment and subdivision. The mechanical and electrical engineer will also design and document all mechanical and electrical systems such as lighting, electrical, air conditioning, plumbing, and ventilation based on the architect's concept drawings. The interior designer will start to design on the theme for various spaces of the project based on the client's preferences. The interior designer prepares detailed plans for the space, showing the color scheme, materials, lighting and soft furnishing he recommends. Then, the facade specialist will discuss with the interior designer to obtain the best results for the double volume curtain wall facade for the project. He also discusses with the structural engineer about the facade wall to ensure it is safe to build. After that, the interior designer will prepare sketch layouts and construction drawings. Other than that, the interior designer also estimates the budget and establishes the planning and implementation schedules. The interior designer will also meet up with the green building specialist to discuss about the eco-friendly or green materials to be used in order to achieve the green building scores. The green specialist will recommend the best supplier for green building materials to the interior designer. The green specialist then comes up with a plan to increase the efficiency of resources used in terms of energy, water, materials and reduce the building impacts on human health and environment. It is necessary for him to speak to the architect, engineers and other consultants to help them to achieve the GPI requirements in construction. Next, the quantity surveyor comes out with a cost estimation based on the project and measures the drawings and calculate the quantities of materials needs to be used. Then, the landscape architect will focus upon finalizing a set of comprehensive drawings and specifications for the landscape components. Lastly, the architect will submit the building plan to the town council, which is MPPJ, for approval.
After obtaining the building plan approval, we will go into the contract documentation phase. All the consultants, including the architect, mechanical and electrical engineer, civil and structural engineer, and the interior designer will prepare and finalize the details drawing so that the quantity surveyor can calculate the cost of the materials. The quantity surveyor will then prepare the bills of quantity and tender documents for the tender process. The architect, quantity surveyor and client will then interview the tenders and evaluate the tender received in the form of tender report. The architect and quantity surveyor will choose the most suitable contractor and recommend them to the client. The three factors that decide whether the contractor is good are the quality of the product, the cost of the product, and the time taken to finish the product. The architect will then discuss the result of the tenders with the quantity surveyor. After discussion, they will submit a report to the client. Once the client approves it, the architect will prepare a letter of award to the selected contractor. The architect will administer the building contract between the client and the contractor. The building contract set forth the term under which construction is to be carried out, basis of remuneration, time scale and penalty, if any, for failure to comply with term of the contract.
Construction will start in the fourth stage, which is the contract implementation and management phase. The contractor will prepare a list of material to be used and submit it to the consultants, especially green specialists, and it is then forwarded to client. The green specialist will review and approve the submittal that is prepared by the contractor to ensure the usage of green building materials. After the approval of material, the green specialist distributes the approved list to contractor, owners, and other consultants. Contractor will hire subcontractor to perform partial of the construction work. This is because subcontractor can provide expertise in specific area of construction. The contractor will prepare the shop drawings for prefabricated components to show more detail than the construction documents. Later on, the interior designer will select the lighting, decorating, plumbing, and furnishing based on the list that has been approved by the green specialist. The surrounding existing structural condition will be inspected by a team by the contractor before any works begins. When the construction starts, the client will apply for the temporary utilities needed for the whole construction of the building. The mechanical and electrical engineer will ensure that all the existing Utilities such as electricity and water supply are all terminated. The demolition contractor will do an analysis and decide on the best method to use for the demolition of the building. The fire department should remove flammable goods for the site, and the firefighting appliance must station in the site till the construction ends. The contractor will ensure the safety of the worker and the public during the construction. The contractor must ensure all the construction works are to complete according to the schedule to prevent having an extension of time. Besides that, the civil and structural engineer should visit the construction often to ensure that the structure of the building is built correctly and always monitoring the construction. The contractor will also send the waste material to PPSPA for disposal. Civil and structural engineer will test the construction material to determine the qualities and strength of foundation, concrete, and steel used in the construction. Contractor must ensure that the subcontractor and supplier are aware and follow the environmental requirements associated with green building products. After that, the construction starts officially.
The land surveyor will first ensure the boundaries are indicated clearly. The architect will visit the site to ensure all works are done according to building contract and schedule. The civil and structural engineer will also be on site to inspect the structures of building. The green specialist will also check if the specified materials are being used, such as green materials and recycled materials. Subcontractor will also supervise at the specific field on site. Besides that, the mechanical and electrical engineer will also do inspections on site regarding the installments of mechanical and electrical system. The facade specialist will also visit the site to check if the curtain wall is installed accordingly. The contractor will submit the work progress report to the architect weekly. Meanwhile, the quantity surveyor will produce a cost management report periodically to identify all the changes affecting the cost and suggest measures to ensure construction project is within the budgetary limit. Contractor has to ensure all works are completed according to schedule and prepare monthly progress payments. He also needs to prepare variation orders if there are any changes that occur during the construction. Other than that, the contractor also needs to submit claim for extension of time if there is a delay whether or not it is the contractor's fault. He will also submit a claim for liquidated damage. The quantity surveyor will also need to prepare interior valuation according to the contract. After that, the architect will review the interior variation prepared by quantity surveyor and issue a payment certificate for contractor. Lastly, the final phase for the construction is the final completion phase. During final completion phase, the civil and structural engineer will do an inspection of the building. It includes the inspection of roof such as loose or missing tiles, blocked or rusted gutters which can lead to leaking. Other examination includes the review of frames for loose, crack or poor fitting, and checking of the gutters and downpipes to ensure they are still securely hooked up to the stormwater system. In the meantime, the mechanical and electrical engineer will carry out final testing on the electrical and mechanical system in the building, such as lighting, ventilation, and water to make sure all systems are safe and functioning. The facade specialist will then test the watertight system of the curtain wall facade. After all the testing are carried out, the architect will get all the parties to sign the G forms, which is G1 until G21, to certify that the building is safe. Then, the architect will issue a certificate of completion and compliance, which is also known as CCC, to ensure the building is fit and safe for occupancy.
After that, the architect will certify the as-built drawings and submit the maintenance manual together with all the warranties to the clients. Meanwhile, the quantity surveyor will agree on the final account with the contractor and prepare a detailed cost analysis of the agreed final account. The contractor will sign the final account statement to signify that the final account figure represents the full and final settlement of all claims. Later on, the quantity surveyor will issue a final certificate of payment to the contractor. The contractor will then get the certificate of completion and compliance from the architect. After the contractor turns over the keys of the building to the client, the defects liability period starts. When the architect thinks that all the defects have been made good, he will issue a certificate of making good defects to the contractor. This has the effect of releasing the remainder of any retention and brings about issuing of the final certificates. Now, the contractor is legally released from the contract.
In conclusion, every consultant has their own expertise. However, the construction can only be successful when each of them works in a team to perform their skills. For example, a quantity surveyor is good in cost estimation and translating the drawings into quantity. Therefore, without a quantity surveyor, the construction may be over budget. Also, knowing a profession and applying it is totally different. Every consultant should be responsible in their work and to the construction. For example, if the contractor always procrastinates, this will not only delay the construction, it will also lead to dissatisfaction of the client and other consultants as they cannot continue their work. So, every player is important in the construction process. Besides being physically in the project, their interrelationship among each other is what makes the construction successful. Communication between each party ensures the project meets the requirements and completes on time. Construction process is complex as there are a lot of players involved and consists of a lot of stages. For example, architect who is the lead in a team must always communicate with the client and other consultants so that everyone's goal is aligned. Every consultant should keep each other updated about their works so that there is no overlapping of works. Besides that, coordination among consultants is important to make the results even better and complete. In this project, the facade specialist needs to communicate and discuss with the structural engineer about the curtain wall facade to make sure it is properly done and safe to be used. So communication is to avoid misunderstanding and miscommunication to happen in construction. If there is no communication, a mistake might cause delay or loss to a project. Other than that, one of the toughest part in this project is reaching GBI Gold rating. Building impacts the environment. However, it is the responsible of construction team to determine it to be a good impact or bad impact. In this project, our aim is to build a sustainable structure which is not only aesthetic but also not causing any harm to the environment. In this case, we take much consideration in substituting usual materials to green materials. I wish that you gain information after watching this video. We also want to give credit to the people that helped us throughout the video. Thank you guys! And thanks for watching!